In this video, we take a closer look at the implications of Trump's first actions in office, particularly his sweeping moves to dismantle established climate policies. From withdrawing the United States from the Paris Agreement to rolling back critical environmental regulations initiated during the Obama administration, these actions signal a significant shift in the nation's approach to climate change. We'll explore the emphasis on fossil fuels, reductions in EPA authority, and the troubling trend of science suppression that threatens to undermine environmental protections. Join us as we delve into these critical issues and examine the legacy of harm inflicted on both our planet and future generations. 1. Withdrawal from the Paris Agreement. One of Donald Trump's earliest and most controversial decisions as president was to announce the U.S. withdrawal from the Paris Climate Agreement. This landmark accord, signed by nearly every nation, aimed to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius. Trump argued that the agreement was detrimental to American businesses and workers, claiming it imposed unfair economic burdens. The decision sent shockwaves around the globe, signaling a retreat from collective international climate action. Critics argued that this withdrawal undermined global efforts to tackle climate change and damaged the U.S.'s reputation as a leader in environmental issues. 2. Rollbacks on Obama-era regulations. Trump's administration targeted numerous environmental regulations established under President Obama, including the Clean Power Plan. This plan was a cornerstone of Obama's climate strategy, aiming to reduce carbon emissions from power plants by setting state-specific targets. By dismantling these regulations, Trump intended to revive the coal industry and reduce regulatory burdens on businesses. However, this move raised concerns about increased greenhouse gas emissions and the potential health impacts on communities near power plants. The rollback reflected a broader strategy to prioritize economic growth over environmental protection. 3. Emphasis on fossil fuels. A hallmark of Trump's climate policy was his strong emphasis on fossil fuel production. He lifted restrictions on coal mining, oil drilling, and natural gas extraction, arguing that these industries were vital for American energy independence and economic growth. Notably, he approved controversial projects such as the Keystone XL and Dakota Access pipelines, which had faced opposition due to environmental and indigenous rights concerns. By championing fossil fuels, Trump sought to revitalize industries he believed were crucial for job creation, though critics warned of the environmental consequences and the missed opportunities in renewable energy development. 4. Reduction in EPA authority. Under Trump's watch, the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, experienced significant budget cuts and a shift in priorities. The agency's enforcement of environmental regulations was curtailed, aligning more closely with industry interests. This reduction in authority was part of a broader agenda to dismantle what Trump viewed as bureaucratic overreach. The EPA's role in safeguarding air and water quality was diminished, raising alarms about potential increases in pollution and health risks. This shift highlighted a fundamental change in the balance between economic and environmental priorities within the federal government. 5. Science suppression. Trump's administration was often criticized for its approach to climate science, which many viewed as an attempt to suppress scientific evidence. Government agencies were reportedly instructed to avoid mentioning climate change in official documents and reports. Key advisory panels that provided scientific guidance on climate issues were disbanded, and funding for climate research was slashed. This suppression of science was seen as an effort to downplay the seriousness of climate change and align policy decisions with political interests rather than scientific consensus. The move sparked concern among scientists and environmentalists who feared it would hinder the country's ability to address climate challenges effectively. 6. Rollback of vehicle emission standards. The Trump administration relaxed fuel efficiency standards for cars and trucks, reversing efforts to reduce emissions in the transportation sector. These standards, implemented during the Obama era, aimed to decrease greenhouse gas emissions and improve air quality. By rolling them back, Trump argued that it would lower costs for consumers and manufacturers, boosting the automotive industry. However, environmental advocates warned that this decision would lead to increased pollution and set back progress in addressing climate change. The rollback underscored the administration's preference for economic considerations over environmental protection. 7. Public land exploitation. Trump's administration opened up vast tracts of federal lands and waters for oil and gas drilling, including areas previously protected for conservation. This move was aimed at boosting domestic energy production and reducing reliance on foreign oil. However, it raised concerns about the impact on wildlife habitats, ecosystems, and indigenous lands. Environmentalists argued that exploiting public lands for fossil fuels contradicted the need for conservation efforts and posed risks to biodiversity. The decision reflected a broader strategy to prioritize resource extraction over environmental stewardship. 8. International backlash. The rollback of U.S. climate policies under Trump faced significant criticism from international leaders, environmental groups, and scientists. Many viewed these actions as a step backward in global climate efforts, weakening America's leadership role in international negotiations. The U.S.'s departure from the Paris Agreement, in particular, was seen as a blow to global solidarity in addressing climate change. Critics argued that Trump's policies undermined the trust and cooperation needed to tackle a problem that transcends national borders. This international backlash highlighted the interconnected nature of climate issues and the importance of collaborative solutions. 9. Economic versus environmental narrative. Throughout his presidency, Trump framed environmental regulations as obstacles to economic growth. He argued that rolling back these regulations would lead to job creation and economic prosperity, particularly in traditional energy sectors. This narrative prioritized short-term economic gains over long-term environmental sustainability, often downplaying the economic risks associated with climate inaction. Critics contended that this approach ignored the potential for green jobs and the economic benefits of transitioning to renewable energy. The administration's stance reflected a broader debate about the balance between economic development and environmental protection. 10. Legacy of harm. The dismantling of climate policies during Trump's presidency had a lasting impact on the United States' ability to combat climate change. The rollback slowed progress in reducing greenhouse gas emissions, making it more challenging to meet international climate goals. Vulnerable populations faced greater risks from environmental hazards due to weakened protections. This legacy of harm underscored the importance of robust climate policies and the need for continued efforts to address the growing threat of climate change. The actions taken during this period highlighted the significance of political leadership in shaping the trajectory of climate action.